Alright guys, I am back again with my final full deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days on the Nintendo Switch. So yes, I am finally almost done with all the different decks in this game. But anyway, today we have version 2 of my Keter Sanctuary Gramgrace deck. So version 2 is everything through the additional special set. So through a fraction of the booster set 11. And this deck has received a decent upgrade overall. We do have a few new support cards in this deck that can just help with the deck's overall soul management and also help you just get your key combo pieces a little bit easier. So a minor upgrade, but a welcome one all around. So as always, we'll be going through the deck and I'll show it off in one card fight for you to see it in action. So starting first with the ride deck, I did keep the same ride deck I was using before. I did not switch to the generic one from the stand-up deck set, just because I preferred this one overall. So anyway, our grade 0 starter is Wingal Brave. So when he's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter skill. Next for the grade 1, we have Little Sage Marin. So he has his auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by a grade 2 with Blaster and its card name, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 2 with Blaster and its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. And if you did not reveal a card, choose a Wingal Brave from your soul, and you may call it to a rearguard circle. So we are not running any grade 2 blasters in the main deck, so you will always be superior calling Wingal Brave off of this ability. And you're just going to use Wingal Brave as fodder to retire for Blaster Dark's skill. So it's basically just there to set up for his cost. And then he also has his continuous ability when he's on rearguard circle that says during your turn, if you have 3 or more units, this unit gets power plus 2,000. So he never ends up on rearguard circle, so that second ability isn't really used for anything. So next for the grade 2, we have Blaster Dark. So his auto ability says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle, you can counterblast one and retire one of your other rearguards. To choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. So when you ride into this card, you counterblast one and you retire the Wingal Brave that you called off of Marin's ability to pick off one of your opponent's rearguards and also give Blaster Dark an extra drive. So it's a -1 to your opponent, and a ±0 to you overall since you're losing a rearguard but gaining a drive. But you do get twin drive 1 turn earlier than you normally would, so you get that extra trigger chance, which is very nice. And Wingal Brave is just vanilla on your board anyway, so you're not really losing much in that regard. It's pretty much just a Counterblast 1 and a Soul Blast 1 to gain that extra drive and retire. So pretty good skill overall. And then once again, he has his continuous ability when he's on rearguard circle. This is during your turn. If your rearguard was retired this turn, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So once again, he doesn't ever end up on rearguard circle. So this is another unused ability. So then lastly for the grade 3, we have Sword Saint Knight Dragon Gramgrace. So he has a continuous ability that says your Persona Ride also increases the power of your back row units. So very powerful skill, powering up your entire board by 10,000 when you get your Persona Ride. So definitely helps you hit some very, very high numbers. So then he has his Activate ability that says once per turn, you can Counterblast one and Soul Blast one to draw a card, and choose a card from your hand and call it to your back row center rearguard circle. And until end of that turn, that unit can attack from the back row and gets power plus 10,000. So very nice ability, letting you get 4 attacks per turn by having your back row center rearguard being able to attack as well. Now this also is a +1 since you get to draw off of this and then use Superior Call from your hand. So a Counterblast 1 and a Soul Blast 1 for a +1 to your card advantage and an extra attack. And of course an extra 10k to that back row attacking unit. So overall just a very, very nice skill, which actually combos with his final skill, which is his auto ability that says at the end of the battle your back row center rearguard attacked. You put that unit into your soul and draw a card. So after you attack with your back row center rearguard, you can just cycle him off of your board into your soul, so you can help replenish that soul resource from the Soul Blast from his Activate skills cost, while also letting you draw to replace the card that you lost. So it's basically just a card filter for you since you're losing one and gaining one, but it builds your soul back up, and it also empties out your back row center rearguard circle for you to superior call something new there next turn when you use his activate ability the next turn. So overall, just a very, very cool Vanguard. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we of course have our 3 additional copies of Sword Saint Knight Dragon Gramgrace, which this is the double frame rare version, which was actually the version originally in the game. The ride deck version of this card is actually the standard version that I've added in since then. But yeah, we got the double frame rare version now for our Persona ride purposes, which is obviously very important to get, thanks to his first ability powering up your entire board from that Persona ride. So next up, we got 4 copies of Knight of Soaring Blade Fernvale. So he has an auto ability when he's on your back row center rearguard circle that says at the end of the battle this unit attacks. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from hand to choose one of your Vanguards with Gramgrace in its card name, and it gets power plus 10,000, drive plus 1 until end of turn. So this is absolutely one of the most important rearguards in this deck. It is your primary call target to superior call off of Gramgrace's ability to your back row center. So then at the end of the battle when you attack with him, you can use this skill to power up Gramgrace and give him an extra drive. Now you have to discard for this cost, so again that is a ±0, but you get the extra trigger chance. You get to power up your Vanguard, which is nice since you won't be able to boost your Vanguard since your back row center unit is going to be attacking. And you can resolve Gramgrace's auto ability first to shove this card into your soul and draw before you pay the cost for this skill. So if you are desperate to get that soul, you can go ahead and shove him into the soul and then soul blast him right out for his own cost. So an extremely important ability. Now it does require your opponent's Vanguard to be a grade 3, so if you go first you won't be able to use this on turn 3, so you want to superior call somebody else to that back row center for that one turn. But every turn after that you definitely want to be superior calling this card if you are able to. So next up we have 2 copies of Spinning Knight Gwendolyn. So she has her continuous ability that says during the battle this unit attacked, if you Persona Road this turn, this unit gets power plus 5,000, and when your opponent would call cards from their hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time. So this is just an excellent beat stick card on your Persona Ride turns. She gives herself an extra 5k, plus the 10k that she'll be getting from the Persona Ride, so she'll be at a minimum of 28k. Plus she has Guard Restrict on top of that, forcing your opponent to guard with at least 2 cards when they try to guard her. So usually I like putting her in my front row and getting a booster behind her when she'll be hitting for at least 18k worth of boost, since the Persona Ride will power it up as well. So that'll allow that column to hit very large numbers, and also have the Guard Restrict on top. So that can force your opponent to potentially waste some extra cards guarding with her. If you do have to call her to your back row center, you still can take advantage of this ability. But like I said, most of the time you want Fernvale back there. So you can put her anywhere you need her, but I usually like having her in the front row to make that excellent rearguard column. But yeah, overall just a very nice offensive card with some absolutely fantastic artwork. So lastly for the grade 3s, we just have 1 copy of our normal order Regales piece, Gradius Greydol. So you can play it if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Persona Ride and you did not ride this turn, and it lets you activate Persona Ride. So just an alternate method to get that Persona Ride, which obviously you absolutely want to be doing from every turn from turn 4 onward, since powering up your entire board by 10k is definitely a vital part of this deck strategy. So you definitely don't want to go without that power gain. So making that Persona Ride as consistent as possible is very helpful in this deck. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 2 copies of Knight of Soaring Spear Gwynlaw. So he has his auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Gramgrace in its card name, you soul charge one, and this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So this card is my replacement for Ecclesia, which I hated to do actually just because I love her artwork. But this card does her job but better, since he still can give himself an extra 5k the turn you call him, but you can also get a soul charge on top of that. So this deck can get kind of Soul Blast heavy, so being able to gain that extra soul resource is very nice. So if you do end up going first and you can't use Fernbale as your superior call on turn 3, then I do like superior calling this guy to my back row center on that one turn, since he will be swinging for at least 25k between the power up from Gramgrace and his own skill powering him up, plus you gain that extra soul resource. And the added advantage of this guy over Ecclesia, again, is if you do end up having to call him to your front row, you still can take advantage of that ability. So you will get the power gain for that one turn, at least, and you will get the soul charge. So a much more versatile version of Ecclesia, being a nice turn 3 back row attacker if you go first, or alternatively being a nice front row attacker if you need him to be as well, while also helping you build up that resource. So very, very nice card. So next we got 2 copies of Knight of Soaring Refinement, Defend. So he has 2 auto abilities. First one says when your grade 3 or greater unit in the center column attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Gramgrace in its card name, that attacking unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle. So most of the time you're going to have Fernbale in your back row center, so he's grade 3, and then of course Gramgrace attacking will be grade 3. So if you have this guy sitting in your front row, then you can power up 2 of your attacks that turn by 5k for free, your Vanguard's attack and Fernbale's attack. So he combos very nicely with those. And then he also has his second auto ability when he's on a front row rearguard circle that says when this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Gramgrace in his card name, and your units in the center column attacked 2 or more times this turn, you can counterblast 1, and this unit gets power plus 15,000 until end of that battle. So this ability I don't use as much in this deck. You usually have some better uses for your counterblast than this. If you have the extra counterblast to spare, it's a 15k power gain onto him, which he should be at 20k, with the Persona Ride bonus at least. So on a Persona Ride turn with a booster behind him and this skill on top, he'll definitely be hitting for some very large numbers. So you can potentially use it on your push turn if you're trying to finish your opponent off anyway, to give you that last little extra boost to maybe cross the finish line. But most of the time I actually end up not using this skill and just have him just kind of sit in the front row and give that passive power gain to my center column, and use my counter blasts for other more important skills. But yeah, there is an option if you need it. So next up we got 4 copies of Divine Sister Longdesha. So she has her continuous ability that says if your soul has a grade 3 or greater card, this unit gets boost and power plus 5,000. So this is just a versatile card that you can pop anywhere on your board. She'll be a 15k body that can boost. So if you need her in your front row, if you need her in your back row, if you need her in your back row center to be an attacker, she can fit in pretty much anywhere. And all you have to do is have a grade 3 or greater in your soul. So between Fernbale shoving himself to soul and then, Persona riding, hopefully every turn, you should be able to get plenty of grade 3s in there. So just a very nice fill in any spot you need on your board kind of a card. So then lastly for the grade 2s, we have 3 copies of Knight of Rendering Flash, Carbra. Again, I'm trying my best with these names, people. But anyway, he has his auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1 and soul blast 1 to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose a card from among them, reveal it, call it to rearguard circle if it is a grade 2 or less unit card, and put it into your hand if it is not, and shuffle your deck. So this can be a nice ability. Again, it is a counterblast and a soul blast cost, so you want to mind both of those resources. But it lets you check the top 3, and you can either superior call a grade 2 or less unit to your board, or if it's anything else, you can put it into your hand. So if you find an order card, or if you find a grade 3, you can get those into your hand. So he can help you dig for your Persona Ride copies. He can help you dig for your Fern Bales in order to get them in your hand and then superior call them to your back row center. He can potentially get Sanctitude into your hand as well if you find it. And of course, if you find any good rear guard, you can just plop it directly onto your board. So, as always, with any, check the top whatever kind of skills, it is that RNG factor of what you find there. But the way his skill works most of the time, unless you find like 3 triggers or something, you should find something decent to either get onto your board or into your hand. So, just a nice card to help you dig for any of the combo pieces that you might need. So that is all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of Bringer of Soaring Wind, Lacti. I guess, again, I gotta make my best guesses on these pronunciations, people. So, anyway, she has her auto ability when she's on back row rear guard circle. That says at the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Gramgrace in its card name, you can retire this unit to choose a grade 3 unit card from your soul and put it into your hand. So this can be a nice ability to help cycle either a copy of Gramgrace or a copy of Fern Bale out of your soul back into your hand to set up for your next turn. So she can help you loop your Persona Rides to get that more consistently. She can loop your Fern Bales to superior call him back again the next turn. Now she retires herself for this cost and you're grabbing a card out of your soul. So it's essentially a Soul Blast one for a ±0, but being able to get those key combo pieces back into your hand to set up your plays next turn can definitely be worth it. So she can still be a very useful card in this deck. So next up we got 2 copies of Magic of Purification FuRyu. So she has her auto ability that says when this unit boosts, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you may soul charge 1. So very simple ability, just giving you another soul charging option for this deck, which again, soul can get kind of tight between all our soul blast costs. So having just the simple ability of her sitting in your back row and letting you soul charge can be helpful in maintaining that resource. So the only other grade 1s we have are our Sentinels. So first off, we have 3 copies of Palladium Zeal Dragon, just your standard Perfect Guard, as well as 1 copy of the Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the costs if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that is all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crits, 4 fronts, 4 heals, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon. So crit with a skill at the end of the battle at boosted, you can put it into your soul to give one of your units plus 2k until end of turn. So this can be an option for that extra soul gain if you're really desperate for that resource. But yeah, most of the time you're not going to use this skill too much. Additionally, we have 3 copies of Knight of Orderly Bow, Levarch. So just your vanilla crit. Next for the fronts, we have 4 copies of Bard of Heavenly Song, Alpak. So front with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So your 20k shield front trigger. And then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Palpitation Angel. So just the vanilla heal, of course. As always, if you want to run any effect heals, you can feel free to do so. And then lastly, for the over trigger, we have 1 copy of Light Dragon Deity of Honors, a Martanoa. So his additional effect says until end of turn, you also perform drive checks for the battles your rear guards attack. So giving you those extra trigger chances every turn, very nice. If you have your front row full, it's also at least a +2 to your hand. If you have Gwendolyn or, another grade 3 in your front row, potentially more on top of that, because you will get Twin Drive with a grade 3 off of this. So extra trigger chances and extra cards in your hand, always a very, very nice thing. Now, if you would rather run either one of the nationless over triggers, you can choose to go that route, but I did just stick with a Martanoa. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And I think we'll fight FuRyu. And we will be going first.
Stand up, Vanguard.
Alright, so we'll discard one of these Cabras to ride, and then just end our turn. And I'll let that one through. And he gets a crit trigger right off the bat. And we get a crit as well that is wasted. Alright, so we'll discard. And we'll drop for free, I guess. To ride Blaster Dark. And then we'll use Marin's skill and check the top 5. And of course, we find no Blaster, though we found our Overtrigger. Oh well. So we'll superior call Wingull Brave. And then we can use Blaster Dark skill to counterblast and retire him. And we would get a retire there, but he has no rear guards. But we do still get the extra drive check. So I'm going to go ahead and call Cabra, actually. And we'll use his skill to counterblast and soul blast. And we check the top 3, and we found Fern Bale. So we'll put him into our hand for later. And then we can go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. Oh, and we still wound up checking our Overtrigger. Wow. So we will give that power to our rear guard. And he gets a heal trigger that is pretty much wasted, because he has nothing to heal, and that power gain ain't gonna help him. So we'll attack with Cabra, who does get a drive check. So he will get the superior call Trickstar out from his deck, and he overdresses into Virena Arcs, which will let him draw 2. And I'm going to go ahead and let that one through. He gets a front trigger. But we get a front trigger as well. And I'm going to have to overguard a little bit here, but I'm going to go ahead and guard with that front. So I don't want to go to 4 this soon. Alright, so we got a handful of Fern Bales, so I think I'm going to discard one of those, actually, which I wouldn't normally do, but I think it'll be fine. To ride to Counter Blast and Soul Blast.
これが今の私の全て
And he's only at grade 2, so we're going to draw, and we will Superior Call Gwen Law to our back row center.
スペリオルコールパワープラス
And he'll gain 10 key. And then his skill
スキル発動
will give him another 5 key and let us Soul Charge. So I'm going to go ahead and call Gwendolyn
コール
up here. And we'll call Lacti back here. And I think that's all for now. So we're going to go ahead and attack with Gramgrace
バンガ
first.
ードにアタックノーガードドライブチェックドライブチェッククリティカルトリガー
And we get a crit trigger. So crit to the Vanguard, and we'll give that power to Gwendolyn.
クリティカルプラスパワープラスこれが私の本気よアタックダメージチェッククリティカルトリガークリティカル
And he gets a crit trigger.
パワープラスダメージチェック
So we won't be able to hit his Vanguard with Carbra, so we'll go ahead and attack into
リアガ
Arcs.
ードにアタックノーガード
So then we'll attack with Gwen Law.
ヴァンガードにアタックノーガード
Let's they went through
ダ
too.
メージチェックフロントトリガーパワー
And he gets a front trigger. So now Gwendolyn actually won't be able to hit anything.
スキル発動
But Gramgrace will still let us put Gwen Law into our soul and draw. And since we can't hit anything else, we're going to have to just end our turn there.
エンド
And we could use Lacti's effect, but we're actually not going to right now.
僕のターンドローニルバーナにライドスキル発動
As he searches out Virena to add to his hand.
スキル発動スペリオル
And
コ
then
ー
he
ル
revives Trickstar
スキル発動
and overdresses into Arcs once again
パワー
to let him draw two.
ヴァンガードにアタックしますニルバーナのスキル
But he
発
could
動
not fill up his front row, so he's only going to get 2 attacks this
パ
turn.
ワープラス
So I'm going to go ahead and let this one through, I think.
ノーガードドライブチェックドライブチェックこれで終わりにしますダメージチェックヴァンガードにアタックします
And we'll guard that one with that crit.
ガードターンエンドスタンド&ドロー
Alright, so now we can Persona Ride,
ペルソナライド
which will power up our entire board. So then we'll use Gramgrace's Activate ability once again to Counter Blast and Soul Blast.
このスキルで決着よ
And we draw, and we can Superior Call, so this time we are going to Superior Call Fernvale
スペリオルコール
to our back row center,
パワープラス
and he gains 10k, plus the other 10k from the Persona Ride. So I'll go ahead and pop this other Lacti behind Gwendolyn just to fill in our board. And with that, I think we're all set up, so we will go ahead and attack with Fernvale first.
ヴァンガードにアタックガード
And he guards. So now we'll go ahead and use Gramgrace's ability. Shove Fernbale into Soul and draw. And then we can use Fernbale's skill to Soul Blast one. And discard one. And let's see, we'll drop... And we'll drop that Carbra. And now Gramgrace will gain 10k and an extra drive. So we'll attack with Gramgrace next for 33,000 plus triple drive. And he perfect guards. And we get a heal trigger, which we don't get, but we'll give the power to Gwendolyn. So then we'll go ahead and attack with Carbra for 38,000. And he guards with a lot. So now we'll attack with Gwendolyn, boosted by Lacti, for 51,000. But she gains another 5k and guard restrict. But it's still not enough because it guards with his over trigger. So he did manage to survive. So I'm going to go ahead and use the effect of one of these Lactis, even though I don't really need to. I'm going to do it just for the hell of it. So we'll retire her, and we'll add... And we'll grab that Fernbale from her soul. And we're not going to use the other one. As he rides into his grade 4 Mahar Nirvana. And uses his skill to revive Trickstar and burn damages. But we do get a crit trigger. So let's see, I am going to go ahead and perfect guard that with Sanctitude. And we will not pay the cost since he has triple drive. And he's only going to get 3 attacks this turn since he couldn't overdress that Trickstar. But he does get a heal trigger, which he does get. And we'll guard that with that heal. And he's actually attacking into Gwendolyn there, so I think I'll intercept to keep her on the board. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride once again. So we'll power up our entire board once more. So then we'll use Gramgrace's Activate ability to Counter Blast and Soul Blast. And draw, and we will Superior Call Fernbale once again to our back row center. And give him 10k. So then we'll call Gwen Law to the front row. And use his ability to Soul Charge once again. And gain 5k. And then we can pop along to Sha in the back row. And she will gain 5k and boost since we have a grade 3 in our soul. And I think we are ready to go. So we will attack with Fernbale first. And let's that one through. And he gets a crit trigger. So now we use Gramgrace's skill
発動
to put Fernbale to Soul and draw. And Fernbale's skill to Soul Blast and discard 1. So we will drop... I think we'll drop one of these other Fernbales
スキル発動パワープラス
to give Gramgrace 10k and triple drive. So then we'll attack with Gramgrace,
ガードにアタック
and he guards for a
ドライ
lot.
ブチェックドライブチェックよしヒールトリガー
But we get a heal trigger, which we do get, so we will heal 1. And we'll give that power to Gwendolyn,
パワープラス
which we should have him because he's only got 2 cards left in his hand. And we've got 2 attacks left. So we'll go ahead and attack with Gwendolyn, boosted by Long de Chat. So she'll gain another 5k, so that puts at 63,000 with Guard Restrict.
ノーガード
And he's got to let it through.
ダメージチェックよしクリティカルトリガー
And that crit does not save him, so we got him with that one.
私の勝ちねやった
So there you go, that was version 2 of my Gramgrace deck. Still one of my favorite decks. Obviously, it's one of the first decks I built in this game, since it's Yuki's deck. But a very nice upgrade to one of my favorite decks. So anyway, this was my last full deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days. Now, I do have one more Deer Days 1 video planned. That's going to just be a compilation video showing all the decks that I did like a really minor upgrade to that I didn't feel like doing a full deck profile for. So I'm going to compile those into one video and put that up. And then I will finally be done with Deer Days 1. And then I can eventually move on to Deer Days 2. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.